Today's Japanese slang term is gaïgaï ondou. Now, before I talk about this term, though, I need to take a step back and start with a bit of a disclaimer, because this discussion is going to necessitate reference to a number of Japanese vulgarities, as well as terms that can be considered discriminatory, especially a Japanese equivalent of basically the R word in English. Now, generally speaking, I take a kind of neutral approach to discussing the Japanese vocabulary in these videos. They exist, therefore they can be discussed to some extent. But given that the videos I do on this channel are kind of edutainment, I don't want to end up promoting something that can be harmful. And so I do avoid talking about words that I think are just cruel or come from places that are very bad, and ultimately are words that I kind of hope just fade away without any coverage. Certainly, I don't want to be involved in expanding their lifespan. However, I also take into consideration how well known a word term is and how explosive it has been. For instance, while generally speaking I would never cover just like a pure slur that was developed as a buzzword, if like the Emperor of Japan used it, well, that would be newsworthy to the extent that it would actually require coverage to some regard. I feel that is the case for gaïgaï ondou, and also, while some of the terms that are involved are discriminatory, I think the whole gaïgaï ondou itself is more stupid than anything. But I do want to state right off the bat that while I kind of always say you should never really use the words I talk about in these videos, mostly that's because they will make you seem like someone that doesn't touch enough grass. Here, a number of the terms I'm going to talk about are pretty cruel and insulting, and you simply should not use them because they are bad words and can have serious consequences. I think it's good to know about things, knowledge is power, but of course with power comes responsibility, so be responsible in using any of the content of this video. So, with that said, let me waste no more of your time before I jump into wasting your time by explaining what gaïgaï ondou is. The ondou here, yes with a short do, is a word that has a number of definitions in Japanese, ranging from like the lead voice in a chorus or chant, to the leader of a gagaku musical group, but for our interests is specifically used to refer to a type of Japanese folk music, and especially the kinds of songs that are done in cheers and chants at like festivals, that often have a number of kind of, meaningless phrases that are said with a lot of joy as a group. At first glance then, gaïgaï ondou looks like the name of a festival song called gaïgaï. So what does gaïgaï mean? Well, this entire thing relates to a thread that was posted on the Nanjay subforum of 2chan 5chan in September of 2016. The thread was titled, to translate, Doraemon says that his time machine is broken, so he can't go back to the present, and I just say, hey, use the time handkerchief, which is another tool that Doraemon has. Now, some of you may be looking at that title and say, wait a minute, Doraemon's not listed there, and that's true. Do you hear that? See, that's the alarm that means we need to go on a digression. Take it away, Wes. Thanks, Wes. So the reason that Doraemon's name here is written as Dorakasu is that Dorakasu is a Japanese term that is used online to refer to Doraemon, combining the Dora from Doraemon with Kasu, which is like an insult. You could think of it as like Jerkaimon, I guess, in English. It is sometimes written like this in kanji, which is obviously not like the correct reading, but the first two characters there usually represent the word chikusho, which literally means like a beast, but is often used to mean like bastard or damn it. And then the others are blue tanuki, and this is because Doraemon has been referred to as a tanuki, especially in a movie that is a play on Journey to the West, as you can see in clips here. So the joke here, I guess, with Dorakasu is that this is supposed to be like the actual name of Doraemon, because in the original comics, he was much cruder than he was in the anime. Apparently, the voice actor for Doraemon in the anime said that he wanted to tone down Doraemon's insults towards Nobita, the character that he protects, because Doraemon is supposed to be like a child-protecting robot. I can't find actual, like, legit news sources that say this, but I can find a number of people online asserting that this quote exists, although they change it a bit, as you can see in these various versions. Regardless, there are even Japanese websites dedicated to old Doraemon manga showing how mean Doraemon used to be to Nobita. So the idea here, the joke here, that Dorakasu is the real name of this character and it was softened to Doraemon when Doraemon was softened is, I guess, one that some people on the internet find funny, and that is why it's being used in this Nanjay forum thread instead of Doraemon. Okay, back to it. Thanks, that all sounded like a waste of time. Alright. Basically, this thread is based around pointing out a potential plot hole in common Doraemon trope where the time machine breaks. However, it caused a massive internet slap fight. Indeed, it's so bad that Nico Nicopedia, which is no stranger to internet slap fights, refers to what this thread eventually became as being like hell, or hellish. Because of its eventual popularity, the thread has been preserved, and I can just say that without a solid number of common Japanese insults, net slang, etc., there's basically no way to navigate it, as basically people throughout it are arguing with each other and other people are jumping in as trolls, taking various sides and saying various things, not necessarily because they believe them, but because they want the fight to continue. The flashpoint, though, for all this fighting was the fourth post, which you can see here, in which person 4 just says, "The uses of the time machine and the time cloth are different, you idiot." The amount of discourse that spawned from this comment is massive. There are 19 different replies replying directly to it, and of course countless replies replying to those. And many of these involve the word gaiji. And this is where I need to say, do not use this term. This is a discriminatory term. Indeed, it is often even censored when it was written in Japanese. Gaiji is a shortening of shougaiji, or a child with developmental disabilities. As a result, like I said, it kind of works like the R slur in English. From what I can tell, it's not necessarily net speak originally. Some people have framed it, for instance, as kind of a schoolyard insult that people grow out of by the time they hit middle school usually. You can find uses of it since at least 2002, where it is listed in an incident of discrimination within Wakayama Prefecture. One source I found online says that it was actually kind of becoming a dead term. However, it was revived in 2011 due to some use online by some, famous online people. And again, with a similar flashpoint in 2014, which Google Trends backs up, booming even higher in 2016, which of course is caused by the thread we're talking about now. Basically, this term enters prominence pretty quickly. Poster 7 quotes Poster 4 and says, "Oh, just use the time cloth to return the time machine to its original state." And no, that's not Osaka Men at the end. That's, okay. Wes, can you come back here? There's another quick digression. Okay, Wes, okay, so throughout the things you're going to see, there's going to be a bunch of things that look kind of like their Kansai dialect, but they're not. This is called Mokoben, Crazy Tiger dialect, and while this involves features of the Kansai dialect, it is not actually the Kansai dialect. Instead, it's like a shibboleth, sort of in-group thing that was developed within the non-J forum, kind of a way to make it even harder for people that aren't members of the forum to access. The non-J forum is ostensibly related to baseball, hence Crazy Tiger because Hanshin Tigers. This is just one of many kind of linguistic innovations that the forum members have used, and it's well known enough that there's even like line stickers and stuff of it. It's part of an overall style, which you'll see throughout, but don't assume that it means that any of these posters are from Kansai or can use Kansai Ben with any fluency. We good? We're done? Can I go? Yes, you may. Alright, so post 7 was the first retort to post 4, but then this continued in post 11, wherein somebody calls post 4 Gaiji Sugi or 2 Gaiji and laughs, and echoing that you just use the time cloth to return the time machine to before when it broke. Post 19 then uses an even more offensive version of the term, saying you could use the time cloth to revert the entire Earth. Now, I don't know Doraemon lore, nor do I really care to check. I don't know who's right here. And while some people here are, I guess, passionate fans of Doraemon lore accuracy, a lot of people here are just trying to stoke the flames. And this constant slap fighting and constant reference to other people as Gaiji culminated in post 90, wherein somebody responded to whoever poster 72 was, stating that they should just fix the time machine, and here's where everything comes to a head. Gaiji should go dance the Gaiji Ondo at the Gaiji Festival. Poster 97 then responds to poster 90, calling them a Gaiji, and saying that they don't know how the time cloth works. And poster 102, who is probably poster 90, but who knows, replies to poster 97, not only calling them a Gaiji, but then also on top of this, making like kind of a sing-song rhythm that begins with asore, asore. That doesn't really mean anything, but it kind of just sounds like one of the chants you do at a festival. Then saying, oh, the Gaiji have come out, yo yo-i no yo, which again has that kind of dancey kind of feel to it. 3 posts later, someone attacks whoever wrote post 102, saying, look how salty you are that you lost the argument, laugh out loud. And then poster 115, who is presumably poster 105, responds to this insult by being like a whole song line, which just repeats asore, gaiji, and yoi sho over and over and over again. And that's where the Gaigai Ondo comes from. Basically, this comment was seen as incredibly hilarious by everyone in the thread. There are multiple people referencing it, copy-pasting it, quoting it, etc. And it spread very quickly inside of certain sectors of the internet immediately after. You can find people referencing the Gaigai Ondo on Twitter by November of 2016. But importantly though, this was all pretty underground until this year in 2025. And the reason was, not surprisingly if you've watched a number of my videos, video edits by like the Japanese mad community. The one of prominence was posted in January of 2025 by Jodan 1 Minute. I believe that's how they say it, that's their handle name, which has been deleted but was later re-uploaded on a second channel. This person's account is a very popular one. His videos get millions of views, where they take famous 5chan, 2chan threads and put them through like a computer voice thing and have them read aloud while like colorful, easy to watch, stock footage looking images run in the background. I don't really get it, but in January, they made one for Gaigai Ondo, which we'll see a clip of here.
ドラえもんにタイム風呂敷かぶせたらの話してんのに、お前ら違いいじやんけ。 何言うてるんやこの外人。それ外人が出たよっといいのよい。
論破されて悔しいのか。
だったいいのがい。それだったいいのがい。よいしょ。
This provided the first like audible version of somebody singing this ondo, and it was extremely popular. Like even the re-upload now has 3.7 million views. This led to more video memery, with one particular one of note being released on March 23rd on Twitter, which got over 80,000 likes, where it is given kind of a rock and roll style. But there have also been like surf rock versions, even opera versions of it. And like even more recently, a short featuring the Nanjay mascot, who is known as Yakyu Onisan. Again, Yakyu, right? It's all baseball.
I don't give a shit about baseball. It's boring.
Doing an awkwardly animated dance while a sung version of this plays. And when I found this video, it had only been out for 3 weeks, and again, it had multiple millions of views. Linguistically, though, from a language perspective, the lyrics, I guess, which have now been made official, and even given like a ye olde vibe, as if they've been here for a long time and not just, less than a decade, with that old katakana for we in there, just to make it like look old, But basically, the lyrics of this, however you want to write them, are now used on the Japanese internet as sort of a kind of internet fight ender. It's a meaningless trolling phrase made to insult the other person and get them upset. This use has existed basically since this song was created online. For instance, if you go back on Twitter and put direct quotes from the original representation of the Gaigai Ondo in there, the earliest hits that I can find come up in November, but one of them is directed at Shinzo Abe, which I'm taking to mean that the person is just mad at them and is using this to insult them. You can also find it, and again now more and more due to the fact that it's been used by various online influencers and therefore spread outside of kind of the general Nanjay containment zone, as like a table flip in an online argument used to mock the person you're arguing with. As just a pretty straightforward example, in this interaction here, you can see one person call the other Kimoy, the second person says, no, you're Kimoy, and the third person then, instead of coming up with like another insult or actually engaging in any kind of real argument, just post the Gaigai Ondo to make fun of the person they're arguing with, rile them up. It's just basically a new way of trolling, a new way of fighting on the internet, and there you go. So while I don't think this term will make any kind of internet top lists because it just sucks, it is something that the wider Japanese internet, especially the parts of it that like to get in arguments with one another, and there's no question that it is, influential. However, I again stress that you should not use this phrase or any of the other insults that you've seen throughout this video. For instance, in the discussions of this term and its history on both Pixiv and Nico Nicopedia, which are not like pearl clutcher websites, right? They actually include paragraph-long discussions of why you should not use this term and how offensive it can be. While Nanjay is undoubtedly an incredibly important and influential place for Japanese wordplay basically throughout its history, and like I've covered a bunch of their terms on these videos, it is important to note that like the culture there is not one that is looked upon necessarily fondly by the wider Japanese internet, even by the wider Japanese internet that is very, very online. And basically in my field, sociolinguistics, the 101 lesson is that words are not neutral things, but they are associated with people. And if you use terms like this, you will be associated with other people that use terms like this. And minimally, as we've seen, those are the kind of people that like to spend their time getting in meaningless slap fights online and using very discriminatory language when doing so. And so, while I usually end these videos with a joke, instead I'm just going to end with a clear statement. I do believe there's value in knowing about things, even unpleasant things. But just because we know about things doesn't mean we should use them, and indeed, sometimes knowing about something can help us understand why we shouldn't use them. And I believe that's the case for this term. It is one that has spread quite far on the internet and a lot of people know about, so I hope that if you encounter it, this video helps you understand it. But it and all the terminology related that surround it are ones that I highly recommend you do not engage with or use. See you next time.